Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Steven Ink's Fake Pen Summer, looking at a couple of fake pens, and today I have something that's a little bit on the borderline, I believe, the Lanbitou 3062. I don't think that this is a complete copy, but it's very obvious where this shape and design of pen came from. It seems to be a knockoff of the Kaweco Brass Sport, or perhaps the brass version. This pen claims to be made of brass. But we're going to look at it today and see what we think of this little guy. Let's check it out. The pen looks like this. I have a couple things I want to say. First of all, the finish on this looks real fake. If you look at it, it just looks like it was printed off a printer directly onto the pen. And I thought this was a brass pen. It does not feel heavy enough to be a brass pen. I'm going to say steel, maybe, but probably, possibly aluminum. The parts are not plastic, I'll say that. I don't think there's any plastic involved in this, except for whatever this coating is. It's kind of tacky looking, I'm gonna be honest. The clip does not move. It does not remove, to my knowledge, from where it is, so I'm gonna leave it there. And this finial is kind of like a little pointy hat finial. Not much going on there. It'd be cool to see like a stamping or a logo there, but you know, it is what it is. This is, I believe, a twist off. Yeah, so there's some threads here. The threads don't feel like they poke out too much. You've got a nice little rounded section. I kind of like these sections because then you can hold it however you want, and when you're doing reverse writing, it doesn't cause a problem. So that's positive. There's definitely some plastic lining the inside of this pen. Anyway, yeah, like I said, it feels super light. I was hoping for a big heavy pen, but that's not what I got. All right, why does this converter look like a Lamy converter? That's super weird, but I do think it might be a Standard International. I'm not completely sure. But it's there. It comes with the converter. The converter is, it looks like it'll work anyway. Pulling the nib out of the section, we've got, it's a round feed, so you could put this rotationally any angle you want. The nib is, yeah, it's good. Looks okay. The feed looks decent. Let's ink this up and see what it does. Okay, so for the ink that I'm going to use to fill this pen, it's going to be DeAtramentis Document Brown. I've really enjoyed using this. This is a group of samples that I had gotten from the Goulet Ink Company. The cool thing about these inks are that they're waterproof, and so that gives me a lot of options, flexibility, if I want to do an ink wash over the top of my lines, or do watercolors, something like that. One of the tricks to filling a pen with something from an ink sample is, well, what I like to do is just use the converter directly into the ink so that I can get it through the narrow bottle, and I don't have to worry about the nib getting in the way. I don't know how much of this ink I will have left after this is done. Actually, interesting. I can't, we're gonna have to pivot a little bit. I can't get the bottle down to the ink level from here. I don't know if you can see. They come down here and then I can't twist the piston. So we are going to try the other thing you do with these ink sample vials, which is to grab a blunt needle syringe. These are really easy to find on Amazon, or your favorite pen retailer probably owns them. And I can just tilt it to the side a little bit so that the ink actually lines up with the needle. Draw some ink up into the syringe, and from there I'll pull the piston back all the way. I just dropped some ink. Oh my goodness, I'm dripping ink everywhere. Oh no. Okay, so with that being done, I'm just gonna, whoops, I'm gonna clean this up later. But that's the ink. The extras go back in, and now we are ready to do some ink work. It's time for some test lines. I'm gonna unscrew this thing. It's kind of difficult to unscrew, which is weird. Posts nicely. These pens are supposed to post. It does feel like it has somewhat of a heft with the cap on there, but it still doesn't feel as heavy as I want it to be. I'll probably have to get a quick Kaweco Brass Sport or a Supra or something to get a really heavy pen feel. This kind of doesn't do it for me. Nice rounded section. It feels comfortable no matter where I grip it. So good, good, good. Let's see. Okay, lines are decently fine. I think this is kind of a wet pen, not in an unpleasant way or any kind of a, it's just a comment. It feels like a wettish pen. So you'd probably get, if you had a more of a shading ink, you probably get some shade. I'm getting a little bit of shading towards the edge here. So if you like that, personally I think it's one of the things that is interesting about fountain pen art is when you can get that shading. Not everybody likes that, but then you shouldn't try and create non-fountain pen art with a fountain pen. That's a recipe for disaster. So good. The lines are nice. Let's do a little forward. And yeah, if you look, I don't know if you can see that, I'm definitely getting some shading with the forward writing. And can we do reverse writing? Oh yeah, and reverse writing is smooth. And there's another thing that I like right now, what I'm seeing is that there's a huge difference between the forward and the reverse. And sometimes that's kind of rare. I see that sometimes where I'm like, oh, this does reverse write pretty smoothly, but it also is very similar to the forward writing on the pen. So don't know how I feel about that. Good. With heavier to like a medium to heavy pressure, I am seeing it is a little bit of a thicker line. Something to consider. I like this thickness though. I think it's something you could definitely work with. It's a little bit of a lighter touch. Yeah. This is good. I get these nice little shapes here. These shapes are very useful to you as an artist in your future, remembering how these shapes are shaded in certain types of light. I'm mostly doing sort of the sunlight kind of thing. So like if there was the sun, it's right here in the sky and it's shining down, you can kind of see where it would hit certain things. Sometimes I like to draw a little sun like that when I'm drawing something just in pencil. I erase it later, but it helps me remember that the sun has to be coming from a direction and light comes from a direction. And sometimes, I'm getting into my art advice already, but sometimes your drawing looks weird and you don't know why, and it has to do with you did not check to make sure that your lighting is consistent so that all the objects appear to be lit the same way. And then if you don't do that, you end up with a drawing where nothing seems to fit together. Your eyes know this, and your brain on a subconscious level knows this, But if you don't know it on a conscious level, you can't figure out what's wrong with your drawing. That's a huge one. Lighting. And then once you determine your lighting, having the correct values is another one that comes up, but we'll save that for another day. You gotta attack your problems one at a time. That's another art advice that I could give. It's too much to try and figure out everything that's wrong and then focus on all of it at the same time trying to fix it. You won't get there. You'll give up. You shouldn't give up, because wonderful things lie in wait for you in the world of art if you can just hold on through the parts where you're uncomfortable. On the other side of it, there is a lot of good things. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to give you some art advice, some summer art advice. And that summer art advice is get some sunshine in your drawing. And that's the thing that I was just saying right now. Consider, where is the sun coming from? If it's up here, then the light's all going to be coming from overhead like that. If the sun were down here, if we had the sun here like it was about to set in the sky, we would have full on, this reflection would be tilted down that way, and it would be dark shadows back here, more dark shadows back here. These shadows would be longer because the sun is pushing them that way, and you would have a shadow on top here and not here. This would be bright because the sun is coming straight that way. Of course, if these things were all lined up vertically with each other, then you would also have the shadow of the sphere right here and the shadow of the triangle right there. And you should actually think about these things when you create. I'm not doing this to be like a final piece or anything, so I didn't really focus on it too much. But that would be this direction. So something to think about, especially when you're planning a drawing. You do something sloppy like this, you can just move things around, get that done before you move on to something more complex, and then you spend hours on something that doesn't work. Sunlight, light source, candles, fires, things like that are working the exact same way. So, all right, let's do some drawing with this pen right here. This drawing was inspired by one of my favorite summer activities, which is going camping. Do you guys like to go camping? I really wish I was camping right now instead of sitting on my couch watching TV. But yeah, I went camping a lot when I was a kid. I think it's just because I come from a large family, and so cheap vacation would be put everyone in a tent out in the wilderness and eat beans out of a can. But it was very fun. Make sure you cook those beans first, because botulism is a real thing. But I don't know, I had this vision of being on the mountains somewhere with a campfire, roasting some marshmallows out in the wilderness. So that was the inspiration behind this drawing, and the fact that I have brown ink in this kind of brownish goldish colored pen. Everything just worked out exactly how I wanted it to. So this was a really fun drawing to do. I purposefully don't go into a lot of details on the mountains because I'm trying to create a visual kind of energy towards the center and the foreground of the drawing. So that's, you're not going to see much beyond that when it comes to the drawing part here. One thing that I do want to point out is that this pen, although it was a much heavier line than I normally like on my pens, it was reliable and smooth the whole way through. I never felt like it was going to dry out or scratch my paper or do anything odd. So it did work very well. I have some feelings about the design of this pen, what it looks like. The design choices, in my opinion, are not great. There are much more attractive pens that are just as reliable. As a matter of fact, I happen to really like the design of the Kaweco Sport, which is more expensive than this pen, and it is a plastic pen, but I'm just going to throw that out there for you. That's one that's worth the money. I think that this pen also is worth the money that I paid for it. There's that copy thing that is always in the back of my mind when I talk about these fake pens, but also I don't feel that this is as much of a copy, even though I do kind of feel like it's trying to be a copy. It just executed it so badly that it doesn't quite qualify as a copy in my mind. What do you guys think? So final thoughts on this pen. This pen is actually a very good pen that I do not like. This pen is the equivalent of one of those nice guys that finishes last, you know, just kind of, it's smooth, it works well, but ew, yucky, it's ugly. This texture looks painted on. It feels light. The internals are some mixture of plastic and metal. I don't know how this Frankenstein of a pen even stays together. It does feel, again, it feels strong, it feels solid. If you're looking at this and you find it to be a very attractive pen, you'll probably like it. For me, myself, I'm grossed out by the design of this pen, even though it works very well, and it isn't quite, as I said earlier in the video, it's not quite close enough to the Kaweco Al Sport for me to say complete copy, but it's just trying real hard to be that pen. And I think if you had the money to buy a real Kaweco Al Sport, particularly a brass one, you would probably enjoy that very much. And this, maybe you'll like it for a much cheaper price point. Something to consider. That does it for this episode, for this video. Join us next week where we'll have more fake things to look at with me, your real host. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you next time.